This is Cliff Herod. He's the founder of an imaginative scheme to replant the Coromandel.
Well, these trees were planted 10 years ago, the first year of our planting, and by and large they've done well. Some have not done so well at the back over there, because we've heard in the recent years that there was a stamping battery there from the old mining days. That might have poisoned the land. But we're pleased with this lot, and we have planted a further lot up in the bush about 2 or 3 years after these.
A few new trees. But this was the start of something big. Cliff lives at Kuautunu on the Coromandel Peninsula. Like Northland, the Coromandel was a prime source of kauri for the early Europeans, who sailed around the peninsula, mooring in its many sheltering bays. First, to take trees for masts and spars, and later to take logs and timber. Today, there are only a very few isolated patches of the original forests that once had covered the peninsula.
Now, it's not like school. You will find roots and rocks, so it won't be all plain sailing. So, what's the depth? Can anyone remember? 30 centimetres. The width? 20. Perfect. She's good soil, you can see that.
It's 2010. A group of students are instructed on how to plant kauri saplings.
And you should really save this bit at the bottom for the top as well, because that's just going to give it that extra sort of head start, but not critical. Finish this hole.
It's a pilot project in the Kauri 2000 Trust scheme that Cliff Herod had founded 10 years earlier.
You're allowed to name your tree. You're allowed to say a little karakia if you wish. It'd be a good idea, because special tree deserves special treatment.
How Cliff started the scheme is an interesting and engaging story.
Well, first of all, I did start as a businessman in Wellington, and after 7 years of marriage I realised that it was going to be a happier life ahead if we could go farming, which we'd always dreamt about. And so consequently we finished up in the King Country with our own rehab farm, and lived there for 25 years before coming to Kuautunu. Coming to Kuautunu, I realised that here was a chance to grow kauri, which I'd been fascinated with after seeing the Waipua forest about 30 years ago. It really left me with it was inspirational going to that forest. It just couldn't believe how majestic those big trees were. It wasn't with a very short while I planted a few trees around the house and at home, and then along came the millennium, and people were crying out, let's do something to celebrate this occasion. At the time I was chairman of the Ratepayers Association here, and I had to go to a council meeting, and the chairperson said, with the millennium coming up, she said, Joan Gaskell was the person, we've got to do something to celebrate this millennium, and we don't want to bonfires and parties and what have you. We want to have something that will last and endure. And of course I went away from it thinking, well, there must be something we can do. And I'd grown before this, I'd bought 1,000 seedlings, much to the amusement of my family, of kauri, and grew them on, and by the time the millennium came they were up to about 2 feet, 3 feet high, and they were starting to ask me what the hell I was going to do with these trees. and I said, well, we will plant a few and give some away, and I'm sure we could sell some to the local farmers, but really my wife was getting agitated at this stage that we were going to be left with a forest of trees around the house. And so the idea came that we would plant Kauri on the Coromandel. And of course the idea was good, but bringing it into fruition and with a structure around it was another thing.
So here we go. Excellent. Right.
Having almost accidentally come up with the idea, Cliff had to put in the hard yards to make it happen.
Right back. Good root structure. It's just a little bit tricky getting the bags off, but the root growth is not good in Kauri. Some of them are very bad. This one isn't. This is pretty good.
An early decision was to plant only on lands in the public domain, which meant forging a meaningful alliance with the Department of Conservation,
Good height.
by far the largest holder of public land in New Zealand.
Having a good team around me was imperative, because it was such a big project. When we realised the significance of it and how many trees we were looking at planting, the first year we said we'll plant 2,000 trees to mark the millennium, and then of course subsequently we were looking at bigger numbers.
And can you remember how much? One level capful. It's quite expensive.
Putting together a good team and making it all work is a classic case of how an individual can make a real difference.
This will help the water get into the soil.
We developed a structure that brought in the whole of the Coromandel. We divided it into 6 or 7 provinces, and then we looked for people who could manage each of those areas, and we were successful, but after quite a lot of hard work and hunting.
And live long and prosper.
Today, financial sponsors of the scheme range from major corporate companies to visiting tourists. Clearly, the idea of planting trees that may still be growing 1,000 years from now is seen at many different levels as a really worthwhile thing to do.
And at the bottom, I've got my head on the bottom too.
There was an unexpected result when the trust was launched formally, with a ceremonial planting held at Kauri at the foot of the Coromandel Peninsula.
We had an inaugural planting at Kauri Valley with the dock headquarters there, and we planted a number of trees, and TV1 came and gave us, interviewed me, and it also shot some of the film of that opening. And by good chance and good fortune, it was on 6 o'clock news on a Saturday night. And as a consequence of this, we got bags, and about 4 big bags of mail in about the first week or 10 days, with letters from all over New Zealand with contributions to start us off. And this gave us a seeding start and money of what we needed to start with. The letters were absolutely wonderful, because they told us a story of their grandfathers and their fathers and people who'd worked in the Kauri forests here, felling trees, milling them, and or people who might have had their wedding honeymoon on the Coromandel. There was an association with the Coromandel, and they wanted to say, yes, go ahead with this. This is a good dream.
Obviously, Cliff Harrod's long-held dream had touched a chord with a wide audience. Kauri 2000 offered a practical and realisable way for people to contribute. And the movement took off so fast that within 3 years the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Helen Clark, came north to celebrate the 10,000th tree planted.
We planted over 30 different places on the Coromandel, from down in the south in Waihi up to Waikawa, north of Coromandel town. And we've planted over 30,000, probably 34,000 trees now in that 10 years. We've been fairly steady in the last 5 or 6 years of planting about 3,000 trees a year, and this is our goal at the moment. If we stick to that, we can do it quite comfortably. Of course, we've got to get volunteers to plant them, and this is probably the hardest part of it. And this new project we have with the Mercury Bay Area School, I'm hoping will be the catalyst for other schools to adapt similar educational programs to give the children the history of the Kauri.
What was the size of the hole again, girls?
30 centimetres.
I look forward to, I would like to look forward to the fact that in 100 years' time I can come back and have a look. But I think it's a great project, and I think it will make a big impact on the Coromandel.